products. We've got Jason West, the Central Regional Manager for Digital Watchdog. He's going to go over some of their cool new analytics products, as well as briefly cover their new rack solution, which has a really cool warranty and some great benefits to it. It's pretty powerful, cool machine. So I'm pretty excited. So I am going to hand it over to him here and let him go.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Dave. I will share my screen. There we go.
And I did forget to mention, if anybody wants to ask any questions or anything, feel free to put it in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat.
All right, Dave, let me know that you can see that all right.
Help if I didn't mute myself before I said that. Yes, I can see your DW website.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I'll kind of leave the participants box open here so I can see who's on. All right, well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Appreciate the platform. Thanks for attending, everyone. As Dave mentioned, I'm the Senior Regional Manager for the Central U.S. with Digital Watchdog. We've got some pretty cool new Blackjack server options. I'm going to spend just a couple minutes going over those and what makes them unique. And then we will get into analytics, which I think is a topic that these days a lot of people, seems like everyone wants to know a little bit more about analytics, how they work on specific platforms. I'm going to show you what analytics are available, number one, and then how they set up in Spectrum or in the camera. What's cool is we're doing the analytics on the edge, which is in the camera. And then that speaks directly to our Spectrum software platform, our Spectrum VMS. And we can turn those into the rules that you're accustomed to in Spectrum, whether it's bookmarking, whether it's sending an email, whether it's push notifications, triggering an output, any number of things, all the rules that already exist in Spectrum. It's just making it really easy to set it up and then in turn take those analytics from the edge and turn them into rules in the VMS. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. I'm just going to use our website as a guide. I feel that our marketing department has done a pretty stellar job of making things easy to find in our website. So for instance, if you were looking for Blackjack, servers, you hover over products, everything's here. If you're looking for IVA, which is intelligent video analytics, we're going to go over that whole line in just a minute. But specifically, we're going to start at Blackjack Servers. So when I click on Blackjack Servers, we've got a page here that pops up. It tells you what are Blackjack Servers, the bullet points, made in the USA in the LA area, designed, engineered, commissioned in the US, NDAA compliant. That you'll see that banner all over our website. But as I click View All Products, some of the products you know and love are on here: the cubes, the P racks, the E racks. Well, the first one I want to start off the meeting with. We've gotten some pushback from certain end users or certain customers that maybe didn't love the cube form factor. We're not going to get rid of the cube form factor because it's very popular with a lot of customers, and it is right in our wheelhouse. The Windows version will handle about 50 4-megapixel cameras, 50 4-megapixel cameras. So it's in an everyday wheelhouse for us, whether it's one camera, 50 4-megapixel cameras. If you start to go higher megapixel, it'll handle some higher megapixel stuff too. So it is a really good day-to-day server for us. But again, sometimes we get pushback on the form factor. So we introduced this Blackjack Tower. And as you look at it here, it's got the form factor of what you're used to for a normal desktop. It really does have the same specs as a Windows Cube. And you can see here, it's got multiple monitor outputs, or at least an HD output. It's got, just like true to form with everything that we sell at Digital Watchdog for servers, we've got dual NICs because we truly believe in segregating the camera traffic from the outside world traffic. It's just one of those best practice things. So it does have dual NICs. but the form factor is very different than a cube. Some people really like this form factor versus the cube style, the cube form factor. Again, NDAA compliant, very similar specs. Again, I'm using our website as a guide, but as we go down here, when you pull up any product on our website, digital-watchdog.com, it has, the first tab is features or difference, excuse me. So you just drive down, it'll show you a little bit about that server. 360 megs of throughput. That's where we do the math and come up with about 54 megapixel cameras. If it's 2 megapixel cameras, it'll record, I think, 64 at 30 frames per second. Obviously, there aren't too many instances, if any, they're recording at 30 frames a second, but it does have the capacity to do it. So the DW difference, dual network cards, I just talked about that, or dual NICs, Spectrum software, designed and commissioned in the USA. So the DW difference tab is just a little bit about what makes that server unique. Features is basically a spec list just in a line item. So everything that has a hard drive at Digital Watchdog, every Blackjack server, every VMAX server, anything that has a hard drive, we warranty the hard drive for 5 years. So we use only the best hard drives in these. Those are Seagate Skyhawk surveillance grade drives. We continually test hard drives. And if you would have asked me 3 years ago what drives we were using you know, a different black gold, different version of hard drive. But today, Skyhawk makes the best drive out there. We got so many names of companies floating through my head right now. But again, we're continually testing them. If somebody were to come out with a better drive, then there's a really good chance after testing it and vetting it, we might switch to that drive. But so far, Seagate Skyhawk is the best drive out there for its heat capacity, the fluctuations in heating it can take, as well as longevity of the drives, how many hundreds of thousands of times it can be rewritten. So really great drive. But this just talks a little bit about it. When you go to specs, page list of specs, if you're looking for, what operating system, this one happens to have Windows 10. All of our Blackjack servers either come with 4 licenses or 8 licenses. No different in the tower. It comes with 4 licenses. Different part numbers, just like the Blackjack Cube, we go from 3 to 18 terabytes internally in this box. And of course, we have Blackjack NAS line that is network attached storage that we can go up to almost 200 additional terabytes in a Blackjack NAS. So options just gives you a little bit about different option licenses, but really my favorite tabs, when we get to cameras, there's an accessory tab that talks about all the accessories that go with the camera, but documentation, everything's here. Blackjack Tower quick setup guide, our data sheet, if you want to include that with a quote, or our sell sheet. It's just a brochure that talks a little bit about the Blackjack Tower. So everything's right at your fingertips. Even software. You click software and it has all the plugins for some of our partner companies that we work with. And then our Witness plugin for our mobile app. And the client's full software, everything for Spectrum is right there at your fingertips. But the Blackjack Tower, essentially the same specs as a Windows Cube, just in a little bit different form factor. We are, one of the most exciting things about this product is we will be releasing a UL listed version as well. And I know that, with us, it can be a big thing in municipalities, in downtown districts where they require UL in some form or fashion. We will have a UL listed version of this software. Currently, if you needed UL in our Blackjack lineup, you'd go to a Blackjack P rack or an E rack. But it will be nice to have another form factor or a smaller camera count server that is UL listed. So one of the things up and coming on this product. Also, under the Blackjack series, let me just go back to the home page here, and we'll jump into Blackjack again. This next product I'm going to talk about in the Blackjack series is really exciting. Some of you know that one of our largest verticals for Digital Watchdog is K through 12, higher education. So we work with a lot of school districts throughout the US and Canada, and we're in a lot of bid specs for them. And currently, when you're talking about larger camera counts at schools and corporations, you're probably looking at a P rack or an E rack. These things can go up to almost 500 terabytes. you can throw a NAS on. So if somebody says they need 7 days of storage, no problem. Somebody says they need 3 years of storage. We're doing a lot of cannabis grow ops these days, and they have some, depending by state, some states say they need a year of storage, some say 2, some say 3. So we can accommodate them anywhere in between. But traditionally we go to, our E-Rack for that type of application. Well, we just released 2 versions of what we call the Blackjack Rack. What that is I'm going to click on this one first. They're very unique because these have a 5-year next business day warranty, meaning if you install this Blackjack Rack and something doesn't seem right, you call our tech support, they deem that a technician needs to be there. We have a next day Dell certified technician that will come on site next business day and fix it, replace drives, do whatever's necessary for 5 years. So it is a no-brainer. The cost is not much more than our E-Rack, fractional amount, in fact. But it comes with the 5-year next business day on-site warranty. It also comes with a keep your hard drive warranty. So as we scroll down here, by the way, these have 600 meg of throughput, so they can handle about 128 2-megapixel cameras at 30 frames per second per server, and you can stack servers all day long in Spectrum. So here we go. Next business day on-site hardware repair from a certified technician, and this is really important. We believe in data integrity. So when you have a server out there, by the way, we don't expect any of our dealers or integrators to be server experts. So that's why these are so important, because we don't believe that you should have to send that thing in for repair. We definitely don't believe you should have to crack a cover in the field. So there's a lot of peace of mind to knowing that the very next business day, there's going to be a certified technician there to take a look at the machine. And if it was a hard drive, they'd pull a hard drive. They're all hot swappable. They'd install a new hard drive. The end user or the integrator actually gets to keep their hard drive. We peel a label off of it for data integrity. They keep the information that's on that drive, so they retain the drive, which is extremely important for data integrity. So again, these are all designed and commissioned in the US, dual network cards, dual power supplies, hot swappable hard drives. These are built completely redundant. So aside from having next business day service, if we look at the specs on these things, this one is the smaller of the two. This has an Intel Xeon single core processor. The big brother to this one, the other Blackjack Rack, has multi-core Xeon processors. So as you can see here, Intel Xeon Silver processor. It has 2 8-gig RAM cards in it, so it's 16 gigs of RAM. These are pretty robust servers. Xeon processor in and of itself has some horsepower behind it. 16 gigs of RAM, dual ether or dual NIC cards. These also have, if you look here at specs, they have 2 240 gig solid state drives for RAID 1. So what that means is there's one that is mirrored on the other. So there are 2 operating system drives within the unit, 2 power supplies, dual fans. These things are built to be bulletproof redundant. So that's the first version. The second version, as I just mentioned, has a little bit higher specs even. And this one has 32 gigs of RAM. So I'm going to click right here. This one has 32 gigs of RAM. There's 4 8-gig RAM cards in there. Dual Intel Xeon Silver processor. So even, twice the horsepower of the other one. Again, RAID 1 mirrored operating SSDs, dual NICs, 600 megs of throughput. So just having next business day on-site service warranty for 5 full years and keep your hard drive warranty, that's huge in and of itself. But then you take into account how big these specs or how robust these specs are in these servers. These are everybody that's doing the larger camera count jobs, whether it's a corporate building, whether it's a cannabis grow up, whether it's a school, whatever your vertical is, when you're doing the larger camera counts and you need complete redundancy and the peace of mind of knowing that you have a 5-year next business day on-site warranty, I mean, everybody should take a really hard look at these. And again, if you were selling our E-Racks in the past, fractional amount more for the Blackjack Rack. So And everybody here at APD, if you're interested in getting a quote, reach out to the staff here and they can quickly get you a quote on these servers. But we're really, really excited to have these. And we will expand this line over this year for some of those smaller servers that we have to build in some next business day service in the smaller servers as well. So we are expanding the Blackjack next business day mantra moving forward, or we're going down that path with some other servers too. So more to come on that as we release things. But that's really as far as the Blackjack servers go. I wanted to show the tower, and I definitely wanted to spend some time talking about what makes the Blackjack Rack unique. And you know that we have a pretty robust line of Blackjack servers. These are just two great additions. We have the NAS units as well. So essentially, as I kind of mentioned, we can go from anywhere from 2 terabytes in Windows or Linux all the way up to internally just under 500 terabytes. And then with the addition of a NAS, we can go up to another 200 terabytes. So again, somebody asked for 7 days, we can accommodate. Somebody asked for 3 years, we can accommodate. All right. So that's a little bit of what's going on with Digital Watchdog with the Blackjack server line. Now let's take a peek at something everybody's excited about, which is analytics. So again, using our website here as a guide, I'm going to hover over products. First one under our IP cameras is called MEGApix IVA. IVA stands for Intelligent Video Analytics, and we have really 2 versions. What's cool is I'm going to show that a lot of the cameras you've been buying already, the MV82, the MV85, the MVA, the ball style cameras, the fisheye cameras, what we've done in many of those models is we've added about 10 analytics on camera, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's the same price. So we've added those 10 analytics to those cameras. Slight 1-digit part number change. I believe there's a W in the part number that denotes that you're getting those analytics. But let's talk about what those analytics are. So obviously you can see some snapshots here. I'm going to take you to our Spectrum site, and I'm going to show you some live demos of not only how to set it up on the edge in the camera, but also how to set up the rule in Spectrum. And then we'll look at how it filters those rules in Spectrum. So essentially we're taking raw video captured by the camera. That's why we're doing it at the edge. We're not putting any more pressure on the servers. We're doing all the analytics at the edge, which feeds the metadata to our servers and to Spectrum to create rules. So it's pretty fun the way we're doing it, because if you were working with a facility that wanted a whole bunch of analytic cameras, it doesn't stress that server because we're doing it at the edge in camera. So many of the form factors you know and love: motorized zoom, autofocus, fixed lens, microdomes, vandal balls, -40 cold start cameras, bullet cameras, and fisheye cameras. So a lot of the form factors you're already using, we've just added analytics to it. So here's a list of all the analytics that are available. I'm going to scroll down here, and we've got what we call IVA, and we got IVA Plus. So IVA Plus is a camera for, again, I use that term fractional difference in cost. For not much more, you can also purchase, I believe the part number has a P in it, like an MPA or an MPV. That denotes that it has the IVA Plus, or the Plus package of analytics built in. So your base analytics that come within those cameras, again, we've added it to a lot of the cameras we currently sell, and it's just free and included. Here are some of the analytics that are built into the camera. Intrusion. So you can draw an area and you want to know if somebody broke that threshold and went into that area. If line crossing, we can do one direction, both directions, or the other direction. So we can do bi-directional or a single direction, either way. So if you want to know if somebody crosses a perimeter line, anything like that, it's built right in. A counting line. So at a turnstile, at an entrance door, if you want to know how many people are going in, you can actually overlay it on the video as well, and it will count as people go one direction, the other direction, or both directions. Loitering area. This is great for retail. This is great for restricted areas, server rooms. If you want to draw a box outside the server room, if anybody stands at that door for more than, you can put the duration in there, 2 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You can have a loitering area built in, and it's on the edge as well. If somebody enters an area, so if something appears within that area that you draw, if something exits, so if something is always here and it exits that threshold, that's built into the camera. And then of course, tampering, spray painting a camera, moving a camera. If the scene changes dramatically, that sets off the alert in the camera. So that's built into a lot of the cameras we already have. Now, if you were to decide that down the road you needed some of these analytics, then if you purchase the IVA Plus camera, again, same form factors you know and love and are used to. If you purchase it, it's got all these left side analytics as well as the right side analytics. So the additional analytics are object removed. This could be drawing a box around. In this case, of course, we use a museum with a painting on the wall, but it could easily be a central air unit that's sitting on a roof or beside a building, and they've been getting, people have been coming and stealing copper or stealing AC units. So object removed could be around a safe. It could be around any number of things. You draw the box and you want to be alerted when it's moved. When something's moved, you get the alert. Tailgating. So those of you that sell access control, when you swipe and more than one person walks in on that swipe, you can set a duration, and it can be really sensitive or less sensitive. So somebody swipes, somebody walks in, and it's called tailgating. They bring a friend in that doesn't have a key fob, and you want to know about it, that's tailgating. Direction of travel, whether it's a one-way street, a restricted area, we can go either or both directions, bidirectional. If somebody stops in an area for a specified amount of time, if something appears, now the difference between appear and enter is that they don't have to cross the threshold of the box. They just appear within that box. Same with disappear. They disappear within that box. They don't necessarily have to cross a threshold. And then object abandoned. Of course, we're using like a TSA example here, where somebody leaves a backpack or a suitcase behind. The cool thing about analytics is that you can double these analytics up. So as you're looking at, line crossing, if somebody crosses a line and then they're stopped in an area for too long, that you can double those up and get an alert on both. Or if somebody enters an area and then they leave behind an object, you can double these analytics up within Spectrum. So there's a lot of things you can do with these. And by the way, they're really easy to set up. I think in our industry, with whether it's other manufacturers or other technologies, analytics have been really clumsy to set up. They've been hard to set up. And then in turn, when you try to, attach those to a VMS, again, that can be a clumsy setup process. I think we've tried to make it as easy as we can. And I'm going to show you the setup in camera, and I'm going to show you the setup in Spectrum, the VMS, and how we take the information from the camera and turn it into a rule in Spectrum. I'll show both those. And by the way, we have videos on our website. If you click on University and we scroll down to videos, of course, we've got all our pre-recorded, our recorded webinars, our online learning, our case studies, our resource library. But in this case, I'm going to click videos, and you can filter product types here or just let it load and it'll show all. I'm going to let it load, and then what I'm going to do is go down and I'm going to show you that we have little canned videos we've created. There we go. And whether it's, Spectrum features, whether it's C3 features, our other CMS, or it's camera analytics. So if we go down here, and here's our webinars we've recorded with partner technologies, but we're here, MEGApix IVA, calibrating, burnt-in annotations, which is what appears on the screen, activating an analytic license, which, by the way, when you buy a MEGApix IVA camera, you don't have to worry about anything. There is no additional licensing. It's just built in. It's there. When you buy a MEGApix IVA Plus camera, it's built in, it's activated, it's ready to go out of the box. So there is no a la carte fee or extra fee. And by the way, just as what we've always done with Spectrum, there's no add-on or a la carte fee to use analytics in Spectrum either. It's just included as part of Spectrum. So let's go in here and let's just look. We've got all these videos, creating a loitering rule. I'll click on it. Of course, I might zoom it along here just to show you what it does. But these are videos that will take you through the setup process, in the camera webpage. And it will show you exactly how to set the shapes, how to change the areas, all that good stuff. So I'm going to show you this live here in just a second. But if you have any questions on IVA, you can simply go to our website and let's just get this off the screen here. You can go to our website, click on it, and it'll instantly be at your fingertips. All right, and those are all under our, again, our university tab under Spectrum. All right, so let's go into a live camera web page. I'm going to minimize all this. I've got Spectrum opened up here. So let's take a look at, I'll pull over a camera that has analytics, and we're going to go, those of you that don't know, what we added, I think it's been over a year ago now, is we added the ability to jump into the camera's web page remotely across subnets. As most of you know, in the past, you'd have to team view in or somehow tell the system that you're on that network. Usually it was some sort of a team viewer or a VPN connection. What we're doing now with any OnVIF Profile S camera, it doesn't have to be a Digital Watchdog camera. We can actually right click and we can go into the web page of a camera. It'll pull up that web page remotely across subnets. So I'm here in Minnesota and I can actually get into the web page of a camera in California. And this is especially important and powerful when your customer calls. Let's say you sold them cameras with IVA analytics in there, but they didn't have any, you know, it was just free and included already. So you sold it to them. It was the form factor you needed. It's just an add-on, it's in there. But they decided not to use them right away. They call you down the road and say, hey, I want to use some of those analytics you were showing me. You can jump in remotely to the web page, go to IVA, you can go to camera rules, and you can go in here and you can, I've got line crossing set up and I've got a non-detect zone back here. You can see it shaded out, or you can see the line crossing event here. I'm just going to add one. So I'll click add and I'm just going to do an object enter. So when you click that, it gives you shapes here and you can change these shapes to anything you want. So if it were an L-shaped sidewalk, for example, I mean, you can do this. We'll move this one around. I can add another line right here, drag this one up. So if I had an L-shaped sidewalk that I want to do detection on, I can do that, or a hallway, or whatever it might be. I can create any kind of crazy shape I want, and then I can just save that rule. I can even do an object filter. So if I just want to look for people, vehicles, group of people, I can do any of these things. In this case, I'm not going to use object filter. I'll just leave it as off so it detects everything and I can filter it. So once you create that area, you just click save. It says add rule success. So that's as easy as it is. You go to rules. You can either modify a rule. So if I wanted to modify it, I can go in here and I can change the shape like that, modify it, click save. It instantly saves my changes. So it's really easy to set it up in camera. And then when it comes to Spectrum, if I right click and I go to camera rules, same process you would do with any rules, whether you were using motion as a trigger, whether you were using, you know, contact on a door as a trigger. I'd go in here and I'd click add. And right here, I would pick analytics event. Once you select a camera that has analytics, it gives you all your analytics available in that camera. So obviously in this camera, it's an IVA plus. I've got all of these rules. So I think I chose appear as the rule. So I'll choose appear. I can put it on a schedule. If I want it off, you know, certain hours of the day and I just want it active at night, I can do that. I can select the users that the notification goes to, especially if I'm using, you know, show desktop notification or email or push notification. You get all the rules you already have in Spectrum. So whether you want to bookmark it so you can go back and check it, if you want to trigger an output, if you want to spin a PTZ preset around to that area, if you simply want to play a sound, I would say email and push notifications, mobile push notifications to the Spectrum mobile app are the most popular. It can do a text overlay. It can simply write to a log. It can open a layout, so it can open a specific layout. If you have a parking lot layout with a couple of opposing views or a couple of parking lot cameras, you can have that launch and open up when it sees that analytic. It can set to full screen or show an alarm layout, means that it will open an alarm layout that you chose, or you can open a specific layout that you've created. So, or it can just simply pulse orange around, pulse yellow around a camera, just to let an operator know what's going on. So I'm just going to choose bookmark. If I were to choose, you know, email, I can then go into my recipient settings, and I can choose which group of people or which individual. Let's pick Dave Nalesny here. I think I can get him. Oh, I'll pick a group. So I can pick all of my live viewers and say, hey, I want all my live viewers, which consists of 19 users. And I can go down here and see my 19 users that are my live viewers. So I can choose that, and I can choose the duration at which it sends that. And I can put a comment in here as well. So when it bookmarks, it would say, you know, if I bookmarked it, it would say exactly what had happened in that particular camera. So I'm going to choose the same camera as the bookmark, and you can put Jason test. And it will bookmark that every time it sees somebody entering that area. So it's really easy to set up those rules. Now, once we create those rules, I think most of you are aware of what Spectrum can do, but let me just kind of review something really quick. In Spectrum, if you wanted to know when somebody drove down this driveway or came in this driveway, you just hit your smart search guy and you draw a line. And what it'll do is, you can see all these dates and times down here. If I click on my calendar when smart search is enabled, and I say on the 8th at 9 a.m., I want to know who touched that red area, who crossed that red area. If you look down here, these little hits, if I click in front of one, it will take these hits and it will just play from incident to incident to incident. You can see I've got it too big here. I'm touching that area. Let's make it smaller. So right there, it'll re-index on the fly and just give me hits of every time something touched. And you can see these vehicles pulling in. But what we can do in Spectrum now is we can take these red hits and we can put them over here on the right panel, and it essentially translates them into still shots. So if you're looking for a specific vehicle, you can scroll down, find your specific vehicle, double click, and it will instantly play that event. So if I change it and I want to know who drove right here, what it's going to do is it's going to re-index number one, and then I can scroll down, and if I'm looking for a specific vehicle, double click, or a specific person, and I'll see exactly what's going on. So that's how we use Smart Search, but we actually take that side panel and we translate that into analytics as well. So if I wanted to, I could check bookmarks by clicking bookmark right here, and it will bring up my bookmarks that I've created. So somebody going into an area, etc. I can do that, or I can search by analytics. So if I select, you know, instead of any device, I just want the device on the layouts, I could search all my devices, and I could search type. So if I wanted a person or a vehicle, I click vehicle, and it will pull up. There we go. I click that. There's a vehicle that pulled in into that specific area, or you can choose a selected area on the screen like that, draw it, and it will just give you hits in that area. So if I double click, there's a vehicle entering that area. So not only now can we do smart search, but we can dissect by analytic and dissect by devices, even by time, last day, last 7 days, last 30 days, and then it will display right here, and we can double click and play it back, and it shows the vehicle. And as you can see, if I just go back to live, this camera is looking for vehicles, it's looking for people as they come across. Even on the street back here, you can see in this little gap by the driveway, it goes up, so we're looking there. But all of this is a shaded out area. We're not picking up anything on the street. So we've kind of masked out the street, if you will. But really cool the way that you can take those analytics, translate them into Spectrum, and then search them just like you can smart search areas, and, you know, quickly and easily identify people, objects, things that cross that line. So I think as far as analytics go, in case we have someone on that's not real familiar with Spectrum, let me just real quickly give you the 101. To create custom grids, you just drag cameras on. We have the ability to merge sites across multiple systems. You can resize on the fly. You can hot swap on the fly. You can do what's called areas of interest. So I'm actually going to go down here and grab a camera from the Tampa, Florida office as well. And let's see if we have anything interesting here. MTT. So as you get your cameras on the screen, you can take any area that you want. I'm going to hot swap this. And let's say I wanted to keep an eye on this area where we store the pallet jacks. or keep an eye on this back alley area. I can create what we call areas of interest, and I can do that on any camera I want. If I want to draw a box around that door, draw a box around that door, I can do 64 new areas of interest, and I can, hot swap things on the fly. I right click, I can save this layout. Once I save a layout, it's always at my fingertips right here. So all my layouts are right here. Indoor cameras, outdoor cameras, hallway cameras, cash register cameras. They're all right here at my fingertips. You just save it. If you make a change to it, you can right click, save it. And again, when it goes right here, it saves your changes instantly. So really easy to do that. Also, fisheye cameras. I think I have one somewhere here. Let me find one. I've got one. I want to show you the perfect example of how you use a fisheye camera. I've got a couple here. These are at a school that we did, but intersecting hallways. This could be a school. This could be a property management where you're managing a property, looking at, four-way hallways, three-way hallways. But this view right here kind of stinks. Things are upside down. This locker is hanging upside down from the ceiling. So you have to have a software that can easily de-warp on the fly. We can de-warp down to 90, 180, 360, and we can drive this camera in live or recorded. So I can look at the stairwell down this hallway. I can look down this hallway at this classroom entrance, or down this other hallway, or if I wanted to, look straight down from the camera. So I can do this all day long with these cameras. I can even use that area of interest, and even though this door is sideways, it renders it correctly. Even though this locker is upside down, it renders it correctly. So I can essentially take one camera, make a whole bunch of camera views out of it, right click and save the layout. And it's always at my fingertips. The other important feature of this is that if you have this camera, for instance, let's say I want to bring this camera over a couple different times. You can de-warp it down, and I could look at, again, I can look at all around, out into the cafeteria, register 1, register 2, see the penguins on the screen. I can go over here and look at a workstation. I can look at a prep room, all the way around the room, all the refrigerators, out into the cafeteria, anything I want. And then I can de-warp this one, and I can look at this food service area, and maybe do the same thing with this one. I'm going to look at one of the registers with this one. All right, so we can keep an eye on what's going on there. And then remember this, area of interest. I draw a box here, and then I draw a box here. I can keep an eye on all these things out into the cafeteria, keep an eye on this workstation right here, on what's going on, that pencil and paper. So I can do anything I want with these. And then I right click and I save it. So that's the power of a fisheye and Spectrum, because we easily allow you to de-warp it and break it down and save it into, the name of the game with fisheye cameras is replacing one camera, replacing multiple cameras with one camera. So this, to get a view like this, with other fixed lens cameras, it'd probably take at least 3 cameras, maybe 4, to get all of this area with one camera. With Spectrum, we install a fisheye camera, and you've got all the views right at your fingertips. So I wanted to take a second just to show that. And then searching and exporting. I mean, we like to think it doesn't get a whole lot easier than what we've done with Spectrum. If we take some cameras, I'm going to throw a couple on the screen here. And let's say you're tasked with finding out, when someone came in this driveway yesterday. Generally, you'll go to calendar down here. You'll pick a day. I'll go to the 8th, pick 9 a.m. This timeline's 9:01 to 9:59. So if I think it was somewhere around 9:15, I click right here. I'm at 9:15 on March 8th. And if I still don't see what's happening and I just want to know, who went in the building, I use my smart search and I draw a little line across the sidewalk. And what it's going to do is just give me hits of every time, you can see on the green line, every time somebody crossed that. And I can easily open up the side panel that I just showed you a minute ago, and it will translate all these hits into still shots. So I could go down here and double click here, see who that is. Then I could go down farther and no, I'm not looking for that person. I'm looking for this person. Double click it. That person's walking in with a bag in their hand. Or I said, wait a minute, I just want to know who drove over here in this end of the parking lot. Reindex it. You see how quick it reindexes. And then what I can do is scroll down and look for vehicles that crossed that or people that crossed it. It doesn't matter. It's just going to go to instantly to that date and time and play back that video. So really, really easy to use that. Or again, if I have an analytics set up, which I don't believe I do on this camera, but I could use my analytics and I could select vehicle, person, whatever it might be, and do the same type of search on the side panel. So saving's really, really easy. When you do find your incident, for instance, let's just say it's this vehicle here, right? I pause the video. By the way, when you have Smart Search enabled, if you click on calendar, it gives you hits by the day, then it gives you hits by the hour. So you could click on any hour and see, if I go to the 4th, only at 11 a.m. I had movement. On the 5th, I had a lot of hours with no movement in that particular area. The 9th, pretty much 24/7 I had movement. But then again, you know, pick 10 a.m., 10:20, and I'll just let it play. And I'm going to show you how to export next. I'll click play here. It'll find my first incident. And if that's the incident I want, what I'll do is just export it. There we go. So let's say that's my bad guy, right? Here's how you export video. You just simply shade over it, right click, and export the video. From here, I'm going to rename it, and I'll call it Dave Jackson. And you got a couple things you can do here. You can do multi-video, single camera. You can browse. You can put your video anywhere you want, straight to a thumb drive. Doesn't matter. It saves a copy locally for you. You can add an image. So if you want to put a corporate logo in there, you can. If you want to do a text overlay, whatever you type in here, it'll do a text overlay on the video. And then rename it. Here's your file formats. AVI is probably my favorite. It's watermarked. It's ready to go to court. 100% court admissible. Plays back in a media player. MP4, if you've got Mac computers, it's very Mac friendly. And then EXE. We will throw the player package right on with the clip if you want. And it is court admissible. It's watermarked as well. So in this case, I'm just going to click AVI, click export. It's going to go out to California. It's going to export that. While it's doing that, I'll show you something that's kind of cool. Again, this is kind of just a brief overview for those of you that aren't that familiar with Spectrum. Export's completed. It's done. I'll show you that in a second. I want to show you the question mark. I call it the easy button. If you click it, it rides with you. You can touch anywhere in the interface, and it takes you to that specific page of the manual. So you can toggle through the manual here. You can do a keyword search, content search, anything you want. And it's right at your fingertips. And when you do export that video, as I mentioned, it drops it locally, no matter what you called it. I called that Dave Jackson. It's right here. I bring it over. If I right click and I check the file watermark, there it is. 100% court admissible. What server it came off of, what software, and what version of the software. How you drive video in Spectrum is you can drive it. You can see this person playing on their phone. You can drive it forward, backwards, like a video game. Or I've got player controls here. Pause it, have this gentleman walk frame by frame forward, frame by frame backwards. Faster you click, more frames you go through. Or there's a jog shuttle here. Slow backwards, slow forwards, or fast forwards. Either way. Or as I mentioned, I like to just grab the line, drag it forward, backwards. You can snapshot anytime you're watching video, save it as a still shot. Or remember the picture-in-picture feature? We can snapshot a picture-in-picture as well. So there are numerous ways to use Spectrum to really, really find something extremely quick. So again, just as to review searching, and then we'll pass it over for questions, Dave. Just to review searching real quick, I'm going to throw this camera, whoops, excuse me, not all those cameras. I'm going to grab, let's take this layout off. I'll grab the SiteWatch camera. Whoops. All right, so you're tasked with finding video when somebody went in that door right there yesterday. You click the 10th, whoops, I'm sorry, the 9th, at 8 a.m. You can choose any hour. You draw a box on this door, and it will show you every time something went. It'll just play from instance to instance down here. Every time something went through that door, there you go. There's a truck going in. If you said, oh, maybe it wasn't 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe it was 3, because nothing happened at 2. I click 3, and if I click in front of one of these, it will play all the incidents that happened within that 3 o'clock hour. And I can scroll down. If you're impatient like me, you can scroll down and you can see the doors open and there's somebody standing there. Click on it, and I can find the 2 guys that are standing here, apparently lighting a fire. And I can hover over that, right click, and export that video. And as enterprise level video management softwares go, I don't think any of them are that easy. I'm a little bit biased, obviously, but I've seen some extremely clumsy softwares where you have to go to another tab to export. You have to jump through a lot of hoops to do what I just did in 3 clicks. So with that, Dave, I went a little bit astray just kind of talking about the software itself. Do we have any questions that have popped up on anything?
Nothing's popped up in the chat. If anybody's got any questions for Jason, feel free to put them in the chat. Or we've got a small enough group, go ahead and unmute yourself to do a conversation.
Dave, anything I left off? We're waiting for any potential questions.
No, you covered a lot on the software, a lot more than actually I thought you kind of were when we originally talked.
Sure.
Did you mention that with the Dell, it's the with the new server, it's a keep your hard drive warranty too?
I did,
next
yeah.
day on site, but
Yep, I kind of probably briefly just skimmed over it, but yeah, when we're on we'll go back to our website here. And when we go to Digital Watchdog, and again, hover over products. By the way, after I show this, I want to remember to show our support tab, because that saves a lot of time in the field. If you just have a question, or it can be a quick answer for how to set up a user in Spectrum, or my server's doing this. I'm going to show that support tab quickly as well. But again, hover over products. I'm going to go to Blackjack Series, and I'll go to the new Blackjack Rack. And yeah, it's no secret. The Blackjack Rack is basically a Dell product that is customized for us. That's how we're able to provide that next business day on-site support. Is Dell has a humongous team of Dell certified technicians that we can have next business day on site. So, and again, it comes with it for 5 years. But yeah, the keep your hard drive warranty for data integrity is huge, because a corporation that's been recording for a while doesn't want to give up their their data for cybersecurity reasons, number one, or just security reasons in general. It could be PCI compliance, it could be HIPAA rules, whatever it might be. So they're able to keep their drive. If our technician drops a new hard drive in there, they rip a label off and leave the data with the end user or the dealer, whoever it's deemed to leave it with. And we just take a label with us. They keep the drive so that they maintain data integrity. Nothing leaves their facility. And so it's extremely important.
Yeah, the reason I want to bring up, I know financial institutions, I've seen it in prisons as well. Really get protective of that, just because the video that might be on there.
Yeah, you just mentioned 2 prime facilities for HIPAA laws, in whether it's jails or hospitals, and then PCI compliance in financial institutions, or just corporations that run credit card transactions on their network that take credit card transactions. They fall under PCI compliance rules. So it's extremely important that they keep their data. So that's a big part of this Blackjack Rack. So kind of jumping into the support tab, I know we're right about at our time limit, which is pretty close to perfect timing here. If you have a question on anything DW related, if you click support, it's a funny name for the platform that we use. It's called Happy Fox, but this is our support center forum. If you just said, hey, how do I add a user? Add user, you can see all these pop up. If I click if I click enter or search, it'll give me the list down below. But right here, you can look over adding and managing cameras for VMAX IP Plus, or adding new users and assigning roles in Spectrum. You can click on any of these, and you can go down and read through the here with a hot link to maybe a manual, or at the bottom, and again, there's page-by-page instructions. And at the bottom, there are related articles as well, generally. If there is a related article, it's here. So related articles are all listed at the bottom. So there's a lot of information that could save you a tech support call in the field. Of course, you have the ability to grab our tech support via email, by calling in, or this support forum solves a lot of problems before you even need to call support. So use this as a resource. It's here. We've put a lot of resources towards this site, and we build articles from here every single day based on customer calls. So you can type anything. You can type DW Cloud, and we can send an article to a person in IT as to how our DW Cloud works. You know, it explains how we use NAT traversal so that they don't have to punch a hole in their firewall or port forward, and it eases a lot of minds in the IT world. So, and then there are a bunch of related articles as well. So I wanted to show that support forum as well.
Yep.
With that, Dave, go ahead.
Still not seeing anything in chat, but actually thinking of the support tab, just because I use it all the time, the calculators.
Yeah,
is also kind of a good thing. The configuration.
Yep, let's go
I
into
use
it.
that all the time, just even for data requirements.
That's it, exactly. You want to see throughput or data or whatever. Hover over support, click on calculators. Of course, we've got A1, IP Plus. Build your Spectrum calculator. Spectrum calculator will actually do, it will do Spectrum or VMAX IP Plus, our plug-and-play product with built-in PoE. So if Spectrum, if you were wondering, you know, for 15 cameras, and by the way, you can use this if you have other cameras. I could click generic, and let's say it's XYZ manufacturer. You could go in here and say, hey, I've got a bunch of 3 megapixel cameras, and you know, I have them at 10 frames a second, and I'm using about 65% motion probably. I can type that in. Customer wants 30 days, and then want to add 10 Digital Watchdog cameras. And we go down and we find a 4 megapixel Digital Watchdog camera, and we do the same thing here. 10 frames a second, 65% motion, 30 days. It tells you how much storage you need, what your throughput is. If you click next, it will recommend servers. If you say, hey, I only want Windows, you can click Windows. I only want rack mount, that's fine. It'll show it. Any series, you can dissect it. You click next, it'll throw down all the servers that will work. In this case, let's just say I want the 1U P-Rack. Whoops, trying to move these player controls out of the way. So there we go. I'll select the 1U P-Rack, click next. Now it shows that I've got the P-Rack kicked in, the data rate, data storage, all that information. And at the bottom, it shows the number of cameras, data rate, throughput rate, same thing, storage required, available server rate. So that's what's left for throughput, available server storage, 17.32 terabytes. And then if you click save project, you can save this and email it to yourself, email it to your customer, add more recipients here, give it a project name. That way, if you go back in to the calculator, you can open an existing project. Just paste in your configuration. Go find your email, paste in your configuration, and you can go in and modify that after the fact. So that is extremely helpful.
All right, still no questions. You got anything else you want to throw in?
I think we're good. I think as soon as we've got some exciting stuff coming down the pipe for Digital Watchdog, we've got a cloud management dashboard that we're getting ready to release. I believe in Q2, we'll see, hopefully, but it's called DW. We already have DW Cloud. It's called My DW, which will allow dealers to manage anything, any Digital Watchdog product. So any server, it can be a A1 Plus DVR, it can be a VMAX IP Plus plug and play MVR, or it can be a Blackjack server running on Spectrum. And you can get camera notifications, so event notifications, server health check. You can download install reports that show a snapshot of the camera, what you named it, what its original part number was, and you can download that report. So if you go out to replace a camera, you can say, okay, we're going to a 5 megapixel camera from a 2, and this is what the customer had it looking at, or this is what we had it looking at. And you can match it to that. You can generate those reports. You can create alerts based on that report. So that's my DW. That's coming fast and furious. We will look at that. And there's some other things. We're going to expand our analytic line. We have a lot of partners that are bolt-ons to Spectrum, if you will. I know Eric that's on the call had mentioned, looking at license plate, white and blacklist recognition and using it as a trigger in Spectrum. We have a lot of bolt-on partners that can do that right now. Access control, if somebody swipes and you want to bring up the video of who that was for an invalid swipe, or you want to type in Jason, who's entered as a user with a fob, and Jason swipes, you can bring up all the times that Jason has swiped at an entrance or exit, and bring up the video associated with the swipe. So we have a lot of technologies that allow us to do a lot of cool things. And again, as we release and launch MyDW, we'll do another follow-up webinar and go through that in depth.
All right, that just about wraps up our time.